Hello guys, this is Ark and this is the past 13.18 notes. We will be having a discussion and going over them. Um, Before we begin, I'd like to point out that this is the last patch before the World's patch. A World's patch will be 13.19. So let's see how this patch plays out because there are some drastic, so to speak, changes in here that will definitely impact the world's patch as well. So let's get started. So this patch, Briar, will be coming out. I'm not really gonna go deep into this. I'm pretty sure that Briar will be disabled for worlds. Um, so it doesn't really matter discussing about it in that regard, but also the champion needs to be play tested. Will be coming out later today. So I will not be discussing about Briar. Maybe yeah, on a later video. Now Bard is getting a buff. I believe Bard has been a champion, uh, a very niche champion, being picked in very niche situations, and it's one of those champions that time goes by, champions change, items change, and he stays the same. He stays behind the curve, behind tempo, behind all those things, and obviously the play style, like 5 seasons ago, is not the same as it is now. It's faster, it's more interactive, and Bard has been suffering because of it. And lots of um, stacking champions suffer from this, and Bard is one of them. So now he gets buffs to his passive. He can now um, he can now have 10 stacks, time stacks instead of 5. I'm pretty sure this is how many auto attacks you can, the empowered auto attacks you can do, and time stack duration from 7 to seconds to 20 seconds. I believe this is how fast you go once you pick up a chime from the ground. uh, Definitely helps Bard, roaming to pick up the chimes. Before previously, you just go out and maybe miss some lane XP, etc. Now you have the movement speed not only to roam faster, but go back to your lane quicker, or even gank other lanes much more reliably. So that's great already. And his W also gets a slight rework. Now has a charge system of up to 2 charges. The cooldown, or stack charge time, is going from 14 seconds to 18 seconds. So overall, this could be seen as a nerf. More bigger cooldown, so less W charges. But at the same time, Bard's whole playstyle is him like roaming around quite often. So a lot of the time she's not even using his W. Now he'll be having 2 charges in the necessary situations. Uh, so this is a buff overall, despite the cooldown being bigger. Shrine charge time to full heal from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. This is also massive. Um, it now means that you can get a bigger heal much more quickly now, which can be really really good, especially in lane, but also in like mid game team fights. And the movement speed from picking up a shrine, going from 30% decaying over 1.5 seconds to 20 to 30% plus an AP ratio. I'm sure this will be obviously this is a nerf for the early game, but as the game goes on, and uh, maybe you get some items as well, then this should be even better than before. So a big buff for Bard. And Bard is maybe the first champion I might be expecting to see at Worlds being picked more often, especially from teams that rely a lot on their support, roaming around and making plays like, I don't know, T1 Keria, for example. Delight is one of them. Lehens is definitely one of them. Um, so I will be surprised if Bard will not be picked at Worlds. Now, moving on to Gwen. Gwen is getting significant buffs for the jungle. I even play tested this, and these buffs for jungle Gwen are extremely strong. Let's go over them really quickly. So, from base stats here, health growth goes from 109 to 115. So she gets an extra 6 health, maximum health per level up, for a total of what is it, like 112 at level 18. Um, that's fine, but the biggest thing is your passive 1000 cuts, magic damage to monsters. It goes from 6 plus 10% AP to 10 plus 15% AP. What does this mean? So I play test this, and before, uh, if you assume that you start with one adaptive force rune, this means that you have 9 ability power. So the maximum damage you will be dealing from your passive to monsters will be 7 damage. Now, instead of 7, that goes up to 11. And this means that every one of your auto attacks now deal an extra 11 damage, up from 7. Every little cut from your Q also gets this damage increase from 7 to 11. So basically, you get as early as level 1, you get an extra 4 damage on every one of your auto attacks toward jungle monsters, like red buff specifically. I tested this, and then going on to Krugs and to Raptors, and this amounts into so much more damage. I cannot emphasize this enough. Uh, I even tried like a solo clear, and the clear speed for all 6 camps is now somewhere along the line of 320, I think. Uh, Potentially with a leash, Gwen is now maybe the fastest clearer in the game. Maybe behind Zyra and maybe Karthus, I'm not sure. But uh, Gwen is definitely up there. And I'm expecting to see Gwen being picky to the jungle, especially in solo queue, a lot now, at least from people who actually, you know, understand this buff. Um, because previously, if you would play Gwen Jungle, your clear speed would be so slow, and you will be taking a lot of damage as well, and you 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 could be invaded and die. You couldn't ever, gank after your full clear. You would probably be late to the scuttle crab, and Gwen is a champion that needs items and needs levels, and because of her slow clear, she was not able to get high tempo and get her power spikes. Now that she clears the camps like really quickly, this can be achieved once again. You can even like probably insert a gank, uh, like your top laner, for example, before going for the scuttle crab, and it's just insane. Like if you played Gwen before the buffs and after the buffs, you see like a significant change, especially to her early game. And better early game means better mid game, more snowball, more advantages, more ganks, etc. So this all becomes a big snowball where Gwen just becomes a monster in the jungle. Irelia, our cooldown decreased. Cooldown from 140 to 100 seconds to 125 to 85 seconds. So a 15 seconds reduction to her ultimate's cooldown. Um, Personally, I'm not exactly sure what is tried to be achieved here with this buff. Irelia is like good. Irelia's in solo queue can always be a bit annoying to verse, no matter her power level. Now, reducing her ultimate's cooldown is not necessarily the buff or the change that will, break Irelia. Of course, there are situations where, in certain matchups, that she will be having her ultimate, faster than the opponent, and this means that there will be like small windows where Irelia can like all in with your ultimate again before the opponent has the chance to get their own ultimate back up, and this might mean she gets more solo kills, for example. Um, so in that sense, it can be like a tricky buff to take advantage of. But of course, the savvy Irelia players will definitely know about it. The pros will know about it, and you will definitely be able to catch people off guard with a reduced cooldown now. Um, but then again, as long as you respect this change and uh, try to play around it, so to speak, then you should be fine. I think this is not the biggest thing in the world. I'm not sure if we will see Aurelia in at Worlds. I'm assuming she will not be getting a buff on the next patch anyway, but it's Riot, so what do I know? And this buff is more as like a placebo buff, I think, for pros to maybe pick her up again and see what's what. And it will be exciting to see Aurelia at Worlds, though. Like so many good outplays, it will be interesting to see. Jarvan passive damage decreased, so the passive damage from goes down from 8% of target's current health to 6% of target's current health. Um, so Jarvan has been on an upward spiral ever since like what was it, like 5 6 months ago, where he got some significant buffs to like his EQ and his W, and then his passive got buffed as well. Then he got slightly nerfed on his W. Then Godrican got buffed. Then Spear of Sojin got buffed. And he became a monster. Then items slightly got changed slash buffed. Then he became even more of a monster, been a terror in solo queue. Even Agurin got like rank 1 in Korea by playing Jarvan mostly. Um, Riot is a bit slow when it comes to, nerfing things that get out of hand really quickly. And the thing about Jarvan and another one of them is like Rek'Sai, and potentially another one now is Kha'Zix. Um, these are all champions that have been on the top of the jungle meta for solo queue at least for a very 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 long time, for like 10 patches straight. Ever since Rek'Sai's buffs, she has been like top 3, uh, and that was like 6 months ago. Jarvan the same. Kha'Zix with like itemization changes is the same. um, who else is there? I cannot remember from the top of my head, but I'm not sure why Riot doesn't just addresses these champions, and I'm talking up as a Jarvan enthusiast. I do not understand why these champions have to stay so overpowered for so long, um, while other junglers like what Nidalee, for example. Like I understand Nidalee, they don't want to buff Nidalee because then high elo and pro play gets skewed towards Nidalee. But there are like so many other junglers that they just get overlooked, and in the meantime there are like 3 4 5 champions who stay at like 53% win rate for like 10 patches straight, and this is I don't know why this happens, why Riot allows this. It is what it is. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Kassadin, our AP ratio increased. Oh my goodness, why? We've seen players ask about Kassadin's state after his accidental buff back in 13-15, and I wanted to take some time here to address this. While this change was not intended, we were aware of this change immediately after it went live and decided that we are comfortable with his new power level. Wait, is this a meme or? Wait, Kassadin got buffed in 13-15 accidentally, and Riot allowed this. They thought it was fine. So they thought that the champion was fine before. Like they didn't think the champion was there was anything wrong with it, and they threw an accidental buff towards it. They thought it was fine, so they kept it, and now they're giving him more of a buff to his ultimate, which is a 20% AP ratio on his ultimate, which I find atrocious because now Kassadin will just terrorize solo queue, Kassadin will not become a pro play staple. It will not become a high elo staple. But for low elo, man, this is insane. Like, who who thinks that this is a good change? Seriously, who thinks that buffing Kassadin's ultimate is a good change? Like, I literally played like against five Kassadins in the past, 2 days in solo queue, like Diamond Elo, and they all like hard carded games. I mean, is it a smurfing thing? Is it not? I don't care. Kassadin does not need buffs because every time Kassadin becomes strong, it becomes like perma bannable. Like for me, from now on, Kassadin would be a perma ban. I don't give a I don't know. I don't care. Kane, passive Darkin healing adjusted, Darkin R damage decreased. Passive Darkin bonus Rast healing 20 to 30% based on level of the physical damage dealt to champions to 25% of physical damage dealt to champions. R Umbral Trespass um, Darkin version damage dealt 15% plus 13% per 100 bonus AD of the target's maximum health to 10% plus to 15% plus 10% per 100 bonus AD. So they decrease his ultimate's damage by 3% of his bonus AD, 3% of the opponent maximum health per 100 bonus AD, which is fine, I guess. It's not going to be the end of the world. Uh, obviously Kane's strengths are elsewhere on his kit and not on his damage on his ultimate. But regarding the passive, people might think that okay, this is okay. He gets lower healing later on, but more earlier on, so it balances out and all that. The thing is that Kane doesn't really fight enemy champions 1v1, or I'm not talking about like ganking a 2v1, but like, he doesn't go into skirmishes like 2v2s, 3v3s early on. He doesn't want to do that, not really, and he doesn't win them anyway. So the extra healing he gets is not going to change that. He's still not going to be winning those. Um, Kane only really wants to start fighting after he gets like his initial first item and after he gets his form. Even the healing here is after he gets his form anyway, so the early levels do not even matter. Like Kane usually gets his form at you know like level 7, I think. So up until then, this change doesn't really matter at all. And then he's stuck with his 25%, which would be an overall nerf. So it's a sizable nerf for Kane. I mean, his healing is out of this world. Same for Aatrox or Hecarim or some other champions. So having slightly reduced healing is a good change. Cannon buffs E Lightning Rush energy cost 180 to 80 at all ranks. Considering this is the spell you probably max the last, this means that for most of the game, this will be costing 20 energy less, which is always a good thing. And R Slicing Maelstrom cooldown 120 at all ranks to 120 to 80 seconds. Um, Pretty big buffs, I would say, for Kennen. Um, Kennen is one of those champions that he's either full meta or he's not. He's either like, oh, our top laner is just, a carry, teleport into team fight, 5-1 Kennen ultimate meta, or it isn't. So this is one of those spots that I think Kennen uh, can become meta in the top lane even outside of his ultimate usage. And that is because now he can be a bit more powerful in lane because of his E energy cost decrease. And now you like the ultimate cooldown, I'm not sure if it really helps, because when Cannon decides to ult, it's usually uh, because of a big skirmish, and you ult and you kill them, or you ult and you don't and you die, and having the cooldown being smaller now does not really matter. Maybe there are situations where there's like a dragon fight and um, you try to bait somebody, and you ult, and but you miss your ult really, and you try to back off, and your ult will be up like much quicker now. Maybe you can try again, but these are all niche situations. uh, I would say this is like a semi placebo buff, but his E energy cost reduction can also be quite important. I expect to see Kennen at Worlds. I think it's a very good answer into some top lane matchups as well, but also can um, can help teams, into like teams that are not so good team fighters to, set up like a flanking teleport ward, and Kennen comes in, scoops in, 3, 4, 5 man ultimate, win the team fight. Pretty straightforward. We will see how it goes. Rel, E bonus movement speed decreased, so uh, away from enemies 15 to 25% to 12 to 20%, and towards enemies 30 to 50 to 24 to 40%. Um, so, okay, I guess her engages are slightly less reliable now. And I'm assuming that this impacts both her jungle and support positions. Rhea has been quite strong for some time now, even though I don't really enjoy the champion. Um, but yeah, she has been strong, like a staple pro pick in the jungle and at the support position as well. And I think this change might be fine. It might make Rel balanced, so to speak, now. Uh, I still think Rel will exist in pro play at least, but maybe not, with the consistency and that she has been picked so far. Senna, passive critical strike ratio reduction removed. W now applies passive to all enemies caught in the AoE. So passive now, Senna before she would be doing less damage on her critical strikes. Now she deals the same damage as everybody else, so that's great. Um, I am not sure why they made her deal decreased damage on critical strikes in the first place, but it is what it is. Senna has been in in so many different spots, like a farmer or a support, or I build crit, or I build lethality, or I build whatever else. Senna has been a mess of a champion ever since he got released. I'm pretty sure that they are trying to push her more into the critical strike builds now, um, because they obviously increase your critical strike damage. And I think that's perfectly fine. And the W, now every enemy caught in the AoE of the W will be applied a stack of the passive, so you can shoot them once and you know pick up their soul, basically stack up an extra soul that you previously would not. So I guess this is fine as well. Will we see Senna at Worlds? Probably not. Senna, like, and generally like scaling champions are a hard thing to like. Not all scaling champions, but scaling champions that their whole kit actually depends on them stacking. So for example, Veigar is also a scaling champion, but he does not necessarily rely, like his kit does not rely on him like stacking up a lot to be useful, because he can still like do a lot of damage. He still has his E, for example, right? Same for like Aurelion Sol. But Senna actually needs her stacks to get more auto attack range, to get more damage, etc. So I'm not sure we will see Senna at pro play and at Worlds, but you never really know. Thresh, W seal strength per soul increased. So didn't they nerf his W shield like some patches ago, and now they're buffing it up again? Like, what are they doing? Like, I'm sure they just do random stuff, and and that like they do not even have a plan afterwards, you know? Like, okay, we will nerf Thresh's shield because, oh, Thresh's shield is too big, but now, oh, Thresh is a bit weak now, so we have to buff his shield. Like, and like how do you comment that? And the extra shield he gets is now 0.5 extra per soul. So at 100 souls, you will be getting a 50 extra shield. Which, I mean, I could say it's a sizable buff. It's a scaling buff, of course, so there's that. But I mean, I don't understand. Like, if you thought, like, Thresh, I'm pretty sure the only nerf that Thresh got was his shield, right? They nerfed his shield like some patches ago because they obviously thought it's strong, and now, oh, Thresh is a bit weak, so we'll have to buff his shield again. Like, what? I don't understand this. Tryndamere, oh my god. And oh, by the way, we will definitely see Thresh at Worlds for sure. Tryndamere, health growth 115 to 108, so minus 7 health per level. Base AD 68 to 66. So last patch, um, they it was last patch, right? They increased Tryndamere's uh, auto attack range from 125 to 175, and because of that, I think they reduced his base AD, right? And now they reduce his base AD again. They reduce his health growth, and why go through all the trouble? Like, I know that now he can have a bit more skill expression because of his extra auto attack range, a bit more spacing against things like Darius and whoever else. But like, you change something, you make it better, you're buffing it essentially, right? And then you're nerfing it in a different way though, because you want change for the sake of change. You don't want change for because it's a good thing. That's a problem with Riot. Like, oh, Tryndamere has been a binary champion for so long. It's like a branded champion for so long. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna change him, and we're gonna have him have a bit more of a skill expression because of his auto attack range. But now he's too strong, so we'll have to nerf him. But he's still kind of a branded champion. So what is the end goal with Tryndamere in this case? I do not get it. There's so many. I don't know, man. This guy will never be played in pro play again. By the way, Zaya nerfs, I think, warranted. She has been one of the strongest ADCs for some patches now. Base health 660 to 630, but health growth up from 102 to 107. So she misses 30 health at level 1, but she will be getting all of that back by level 6, and then um, after that she will be even more healthy. So I guess they are just targeting her early game. Same for her E blade color cooldown from 11 to 9 to 13 to 9. This is a spell she maxes first, so she's a bit like weaker in the early game now. So this means that she's probably a bit more punishable because of these changes. But late game she will be slightly more tanky, like starting for like level 7 onwards, and then her E will be having the same cooldown as before anyway. So I think these are good changes. Like, these are changes that give her opponents ways to punish her, but does not take away completely from her power level. Like, you take away some power early on, and you give her that power later on. I think this is a good change. Like this is a change with a reason. There's a reason for this change, but there was no reason for like Tryndamere change. And these are the champions. Zaya will still be played in pro play, by the way, for sure. Um, Items: Crown of the Shattered Queen, ability power 70 to 85. Um, Safeguard, so the passive, 75% damage reduction for 1.5 seconds to 40% damage reduction for 2.5 seconds. And Poise Break removed. So as long as Crown is active, it will give you anywhere from 10 to 40 ability power until the shield holds. Now this is completely removed. Um, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Um, in terms of defense, I think this is now much better because it would be easy for, like, let's say you build this item so that you can survive unengaged, right? Like the enemy Leona would just ult you and keep you in place for like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, for example, and you would only like be tanky for like 1.5 seconds of that, and for the rest, you will die instantly afterwards, right? Now, you will not be as tanky, you will not be reducing as much damage, but you will be reducing it for the entirety of the initial CC duration. So this overall is a nerf if you want um, to be protected against a specific like poking damage like a Jace EQ or Kaisa W, for example. This is a nerf towards that because now you will be taking the 60% of the damage from that ability instead of like the 25% of that. Um, but it will be better against things that want to like a lot of things that want to engage on you, like for example Cannon Ultimate, right? Cannon Ultimate, he ults you but you will not die instantly, or like a Fiddlesticks Ultimate, same thing, or Sejuani ults you, and once you're out of the CC duration from Sejuani you can still have some of the damage reduction to be able to at least like maybe use Zonias or Flash. um, so I think in terms of overall protection, I think this is a good change because, in my opinion, Crown should be the item that, like, this is the type of defensive power it should be granting and not the one that we had previously. So that's a good change. They also give 15 ability power flat, but also taking away the 10 to 40 while the shield is active. I'm not sure how often this will be a nerf and how often this will be a buff, because a lot of the times, you're farming a side lane and you have this up for a lot of time when pushing waves, but when a team fight begins, and that's when it really matters, your crown is gonna probably get procced, you know, in the first like 3-4 seconds of the fight. And if the fight lasts for like, I don't know, 10 to 15 seconds, then you will be having your extra ability power for a longer period of time where it matters and not. So even though at first this seems like a nerf, it's in reality a buff when you are fighting enemy champions, which again, as I said, is the main thing that you need to be looking for. So overall, I'd say these are really good changes to Crown of the Shattered Queen, and um, I will be looking to see if um, if there will be like a meta shift towards like mages in the mid lane, like now that this item might make them more survivable. It would be interesting to see. Spear of Sojin, attack damage 60 to 55. This item has been overperforming for so long now. Even before people realized it's broken, even before like the last patch, this item has been broken. Like the stats it provided were insane, insane stats. the 5 AD nerf will do nothing in terms of how popular this item is. But it might mean that the champions who build it might not build it first anymore, in some cases, or um, their full combo might deal, I don't know, like 20, 25, 30 damage less, with the extra auto attack and all. I mean, is it the biggest nerf? It's not the biggest nerf in my opinion, but it's still at. I'm not sure um, if this is the way you should go with this nerf. Maybe like targeting the health of the item instead of the AD would be a slightly better choice. But at the same time, nerfing the AD of the item also means that it reduces the ability haste you get from the item as well. Is it like a 2% decrease as well? It's a 4% ratio of your bonus AD, right? So this would be a 0.2 ability haste less, which is not really that big, but whatever. It's a nerf that I think will bring the item more in line than it was before, but it will still be like a staple for basically every AD bruiser. Static sieve, oh my god, man, this item. Gee, just remove it already. Just remove it. I knew this item would be bad when they first said that they will bring it back, and I'm not surprised that I'm correct. Like this item, man, they are buffing and nerfing it at the same time. So basically, what they do is they give it 5 extra AD, but reduce the minion damage by a lot, from 250 to 350 based on level, to a flat 200. Um, so now the item will not be clearing waves that well. So for example, the LeBlanc will not be insta clearing waves with like auto attack W, for example. She will need to put a bit more effort, which means that she will have to waste a bit more time in the side lane before she can roam to the mid, etc. But then what's the point of building the item anyway? That like the point of this item should be, oh, my wave clear is trash, so I need an item to help me do that. But the item should not be having good stats, right? Why the hell do you give it more stats but reduce its wave clear? Doesn't make any sense. The item was brought back because it helps with wave clear. But now you're running the wave clear part to the ground and give it more flat stats. Why? Like like the original champions that should be building this item are things like Vayne, things like maybe Kaisa, things like Ashe. Those are the champions who should be building this item. These are the champions that do not have innate wave clear, especially Vayne, and those are the champions that, okay, I want to have wave clear. I want to be able to push waves and like be able to contend with like a Sivir or a Caitlyn in the laning phase. But because I want to do that, because I will now be having wave clear, I will give us some stats from the item, right? So the Caitlyn might get a Storm Razor, for example, and she will be dealing more damage to me, and I will be giving some trading power because I have wave clear now, right? This is the logic behind the item, or that should be the logic behind the item. But instead, they brought it in a bad spot, which, let me be clear, I thought that bringing Civ back in the first place was a bad idea. They brought it back being shit, and I was sure it would be shit because who needs wave clear in 2023? But still, they brought it back being bad. They nerfed the wave clear. They buffed the wave clear. Then they buffed it again. Then they buffed the base stats again. Then they for some reason they had included an AP ratio to both the minion and champions procs for whatever reason. I do not understand. And then the champions that were supposed to build the item did not build it, unless they will be building like ability power like Kaisa and Varus, and then the main champion who builds this item became LeBlanc, because why the hell not? And then they nerfed this item because LeBlanc was becoming so much of a problem, even though personally I don't think it really was. But then, Kaisa was also a problem, and Varus was also a problem, and so they nerfed the wave clear a bit. Then they nerfed the interaction with Night Harvester. Then they nerfed the damage it deals to champions. Then they removed the AP ratio on minions. Like they've made so many changes to this item ever since they reintroduced it. The item is still like a shitty design for the game. Like the people who wanted this item back are morons, in my opinion. The item is still like either broken or useless. It's not used by the intended users. Why does it even have an AP ratio on it? I do not understand. I do not get the reason why this item has an AP ratio. Doesn't make any sense. Because it incentivizes LeBlanc to use it. Like even Kennen can use it. Even freaking Akali could use it at some point. Like, why? Why does this item exist in the way it does? They cannot find any sort of balance for the item. No balance for the item. They do not understand what the identity of the item is. Is it to be used for wave clear? Is it to be used for champion proc damage? Is it to be used as a stat padding? But it just helps with wave clear. What is the identity of the item? What are you trying to achieve with the item? What are you which champions are you trying to force this item on? And what do you expect them to do in the game once they build it? Riot just does random changes for no reason. They do not they just do changes and hope something sticks. I'm curious to read the reasoning here. Static Save has been on quite a balanced roller coaster. Oh, really? This year. Initially, it was given a generous AP ratio to incentivize hybrid builds and was given extremely strong wave clear to help it stand out in its niche. Ultimately, both of these aspects were simply too game warping. This patch, Static Save's wave clear is being tuned to be more moderate, but it's receiving compensation as its overall power level is pretty reasonable. What can I say about this? Who could have seen this coming, by the way? Like, dude, I just want to move on from this item. Like, fuck this item, dude. Stormraiser, AD 50 to 55 because people think that Stormraiser is weak, even though I find that Stormraiser is very strong at the moment. I want to see the reasoning here. Stormraiser initially launched overpowered in 13.10, then was tuned down, then reshaped away from being a scaling burst item. As the dust has settled and players have moved towards the correct builds for the champions, it's become clear that Stormraiser is a bit weak right now. The overall impact of its unique effects is about right, so we're tuning up its stats to be comparable to its competitors. Alright, so first of all, this here, players have moved on towards the correct builds for the champions. How the hell does Riot know what the correct builds are for the champions? They don't even know the identity of their champions. They don't even know the identity of the items they have. They don't know what Civ is supposed to do. They do not know what Kai'Sa is supposed to be building, or like Kog'Maw or LeBlanc. How do they know that players have moved toward the correct builds for their champions? This is just such a dumb take. This is such a dumb take. Like, what? In any case, moving on from this, I think the 50 to 55 AD, 5 AD is always like a good buff, same way that the Spirit Shojin minus 5 AD is a good nerf. The reason why the Storm Ranger one is a bigger buff than what it is a nerf for a Spirit Shojin is because Storm Ranger is being built by marksmen most of the time, and marksmen are able to auto attack more often and be you know being profited by the extra 5 AD more often than you know the Spirit of Shojin users are being non-profited by the minus 5 AD, right? Hope you can understand what I mean by this. Um, so this is a bigger buff than it is a nerf for Spirit Soldier. But I think that some Razor was already in a very good spot, especially for things like Caitlyn and Jenks who could utilize the extra auto attack range and proc this item on you for essentially a double auto attack, so to speak. Especially Caitlyn with the headshot active, she could do the one auto attack and then maybe chase you down for an extra one before backing off. And I think people are like sleeping on this item because its stat line is really good. Like it has more AD than Kraken Slayer, which is a popular first item. Um, has less attack speed though, same critical strike, and the damage procs is like, okay, Kraken can be good in like extended fights. It can be better in extended fights. Um, but the fact that you can be in lane as a Caitlyn with a Storm Razor and just abuse the opponent with the energized auto attacks, that to me is something that is heavily unexplored by players. Like imagine a Milio Caitlyn lane. Caitlyn goes Storm Razor first item and just like auto attacks you with it. It's basically lane over, you know? She auto attacks you once and then she ults you, and like 70% of your HP is gone. You're out of lane. She's free to take tower plates. I think people are just sleeping on this item, but it is what it is. Let's go static ship, guys. Whatever. Champion ability icon updates. Nice. Arena rewards. Random stuff here. Alright, so quick recap of the patch. Bard, good change, potentially up at Worlds, will be seen at Worlds. Gwen Jungle would probably be played as well. Irelia, placebo buff, but might be seen in specific situations at Worlds. Jarvan nerf needed, might bring him down a bit in solo queue. Doesn't really matter that much in pro play though. Kassadin R ratio buff. Um, I mean, screw you. Kane nerf, good. Kennen buffs, more placebo than anything else, but better for lane, good. Rel nerf, good. Nothing too big, but good nerfs. Senna buffs, good, but not pro play focused. But we can see um, a big increase in her popularity in solo queue now because of crit builds. Thresh buffs, good, despite all the things I said. Will definitely be seen at Worlds. Tryndamere, whatever. Zaya, good changes. Nerfed early, slightly buffed late. Good move. Items Crown, overall a good change in the Crown. A positive, not necessarily a buff or a nerf in a vacuum. Buff in specific situations, nerfed in others, but overall I think it's a good change for the item, a buff, it's basically a buff to the item overall in my opinion. Spirit Sojin, small nerf, good. Static Sieve, I'm not gonna comment on this. Storm Razor buff, good buff on Storm Razor, even though it's not necessarily needed. But yeah, that's a patch 13.18, and I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in the next patch, which will be the Worlds patch. I really want to see the changes there, which champions Riot will be trying to bring to the forefront of the meta. But until then, I will catch you next time.